The internet didn't just explode, it detonated. Because what just came out about Tamar Braxton and her own family is so raw, so explosive, so completely unfiltered that insiders are already calling it the most devastating celebrity family fallout in years. We are not talking about petty shade, not vague tweets, not reality TV drama edited for ratings. No. This is the kind of truth that was never supposed to leave closed doors. The kind of truth that fractures families permanently. And at the center of this emotional earthquake, a shocking accusation that has people questioning everything they thought they knew about the Braxtons. Because according to Tamar, what's been hidden behind smiles, red carpets, and carefully curated storylines is something much darker. Something deeply personal. Something that allegedly ties Towanda Braxton and Michael Braxton Jr. into a web of secrets that fans were never meant to uncover. And then came the statement that stopped the internet cold. The claim that Towanda is not just involved in drama, but maybe at the center of a truth involving Ashlee that flips the entire family narrative upside down. Within minutes, social media spiraled into chaos. Fan pages flooded with theories. Old clips resurfaced. Interviews were dissected frame by frame. People started connecting dots that had been sitting in plain sight for years. And Tamar? She didn't walk it back. She doubled down. Insiders say there are recordings. Private conversations. Messages that were never meant to be seen. And if even half of what's being whispered behind the scenes is true, this isn't just family drama anymore. This is a full-blown implosion. Because now the question isn't just what happened. It's how long it's been hidden. And who else knew? The moment Tamar Braxton opened her mouth, the entire illusion shattered. Because this wasn't just another emotional interview, or a messy family disagreement spilling into the public eye. This was a controlled detonation. A calculated, unapologetic unveiling of secrets that had been buried so deep, even the most dedicated fans never saw them coming. Sources say Tamar had been sitting on this for years. Watching. Waiting. Holding back while the cameras rolled and the narrative stayed clean. But something snapped. And when it did, she didn't just speak, she exposed. And the first name caught in the blast. Towanda Braxton. According to insiders close to the situation, Tamar didn't ease into it. She came in direct, emotional, and relentless. Allegedly calling out what she described as years of pretending, accusing Towanda of maintaining a carefully crafted image while hiding something far more complicated underneath. But it didn't stop at accusations. It escalated. Fast. Because what Tamar hinted at next sent shockwaves through the internet. A claim involving Ashlee that instantly shifted this from family tension to something much deeper, much heavier, and far more uncomfortable. And then came the name that made everything even more explosive. Michael Braxton Jr. According to so-called leaked insider audio that's been circulating in private group chats and whispered about across blogs, Tamar allegedly referenced a dynamic between Towanda and Michael that fans had never questioned publicly before. A connection. A history. A truth that, if fully revealed, would completely rewrite the story people thought they understood. The internet didn't just react. It fractured. Fans immediately split into camps. Some defending Towanda, calling Tamar reckless, and accusing her of going too far. Others demanding answers, pointing out inconsistencies from old episodes, resurfacing clips, and asking why certain conversations always seemed cut short. And then came the social media meltdown. Within hours, hashtags started trending. Not just about Tamar, but about the entire Braxton family. Old interviews resurfaced where tension between Tamar and Towanda suddenly looked less like sibling rivalry and more like suppressed conflict waiting to explode. People started noticing things they had ignored before. The awkward pauses. The forced smiles. The moments where Tamar looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't. Until now. Behind the scenes, sources claim the fallout was immediate and intense. Phone calls. Heated exchanges. Messages sent and deleted. Family members reportedly scrambling to contain what insiders are calling a narrative collapse. Because once something like this gets out, you can't put it back. And Tamar? She wasn't done. She reportedly referenced a past incident involving legal threats. A cease and desist situation that had been quietly brushed aside at the time, but now resurfaced with a completely different meaning. According to insiders, Tamar hinted that the legal tension wasn't about what the public thought, but about silencing conversations that were getting too close to the truth. That's when things got even darker. Because Tamar shifted from exposing dynamics to exposing betrayal. She brought up the moment that changed everything for her personally. The incident where her private home address was allegedly leaked. Not just leaked, but handed out. After she had already expressed fear for her safety. After she had taken extreme measures to protect herself and her child. And according to Tamar, this wasn't a random breach. This was internal. Someone close. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The room, according to those present, went cold when she said it. Because the implication was clear. This wasn't just family dysfunction. This was a breakdown of trust at the deepest possible level. And Tamar didn't hold back her emotion. Reports describe her voice shaking, her frustration boiling over, as she demanded answers that, according to her, she had been denied for far too long. Who gave out the address? Who made that decision? And why was no one taking responsibility? At that point, the situation stopped being about rumors and started becoming something much more personal, much more painful. Tamar wasn't just exposing secrets, she was reliving betrayal in real time. Meanwhile, Towanda Braxton remained noticeably quiet. No immediate response. No public statement. Just silence. And that silence, it only made things louder. Because fans began interpreting it as everything from strategic restraint to quiet confirmation. Every minute without a response fueled more speculation, more theories, more online chaos. Then came another twist. A resurfaced clip from a past family discussion where Tamar appeared visibly frustrated, trying to bring up a topic that others quickly shut down. At the time, it looked like typical reality TV tension. Now, it looks completely different. Because people are asking, was that the moment she tried to say something years ago? And was she silenced? Behind closed doors, insiders claim the family is divided in a way it's never been before. Some allegedly urging Towanda to respond and shut everything down. Others reportedly advising silence, hoping the storm will pass. But here's the problem. This storm isn't fading. It's growing. And then came the most chilling detail of all. According to whispers spreading across blogs and T pages, there may be more recordings. More messages. More evidence that Tamar hasn't released yet. And if that's true, then what we've seen so far isn't the full story. It's just the beginning. Because Tamar ended her statements with something that left everyone on edge. A warning. Not loud. Not dramatic. But clear. She said the truth doesn't stay buried forever. And the way she said it. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a promise. And just when people thought this couldn't get any more intense, a new piece of alleged evidence surfaced overnight. A voice clip. Unverified. Unconfirmed. But already spreading like wildfire. And in that clip, there's a line that has everyone asking the same terrifying question. What if Tamar hasn't even revealed the worst part yet? The moment that alleged voice clip hit the internet, everything escalated from chaos to full-blown crisis. Because this wasn't just gossip anymore. This felt real. Too real. The audio, shaky and partially distorted, was reportedly passed around in private circles before exploding onto fan pages. Nobody could confirm its origin, but that didn't stop millions from listening, replaying, dissecting every second like it held the key to everything Tamar had been hinting at. And what people think they heard in that clip? It shook the narrative to its core. Because the voice, believed by some to be connected to Michael Braxton Jr., allegedly referenced conversations that were never supposed to be public. Conversations about keeping things quiet, about not letting it get out, about handling it before Tamar says too much. Even though nothing has been verified, the damage was instant. Social media didn't just react, it erupted. Fans started drawing connections at lightning speed. Old episodes, forgotten interviews, background moments that once meant nothing suddenly looked suspicious. People began pointing out how often certain topics were avoided on camera, how quickly conversations were redirected whenever Tamar pushed too hard. And suddenly, Tamar's outburst didn't look emotional. It looked calculated. Like someone who had been holding receipts. Meanwhile, Towanda Braxton finally broke her silence, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of addressing the allegations head-on, she posted a cryptic message. No names. No denial. Just a vague statement about protecting peace and not entertaining chaos. And that made things worse. Because to the internet, silence can be loud, but vagueness is explosive. People flooded her comments demanding answers. Some begged her to clear her name. Others accused her of avoiding the truth. The divide got uglier by the hour, with fans turning on each other, arguing over who was lying and who was finally telling the truth. Then came the twist no one saw coming. A supposed insider, someone claiming to have worked closely around the family, dropped a series of receipts that added fuel to an already raging fire. Screenshots. Alleged messages. Fragments of conversations. Again, nothing confirmed, but everything believable enough to keep the chaos alive. One message, in particular, sent chills through the internet. It allegedly referenced Ashlee directly. Not in a casual way. Not in a distant way. But in a tone that suggested something far more personal, far more complicated, than anyone had ever imagined. And suddenly, Tamar's earlier statement about Ashlee didn't feel like a random bombshell. It felt intentional. Calculated. Like she was preparing the public for something bigger. Because behind the scenes, sources claim Tamar has been under pressure to stay quiet. Pressure from within the family. Pressure from people who don't want certain truths exposed. But instead of backing down, she leaned in. Harder. Reports say Tamar has been in contact with media outlets, not to clear things up, but to make sure her voice isn't twisted. To make sure that if more comes out, it comes out on her terms. And that has the family on edge. Because if Tamar decides to fully unload everything she knows, there may be no coming back from it. Meanwhile, the emotional fallout is spiraling just as fast as the public drama. Sources close to Tamar say she feels isolated. Betrayed. Like she's been painted as the villain for refusing to stay silent. And yet, at the same time, there's a shift in public perception. More people are starting to question the narrative they've been fed for years. More people are asking, what if Tamar isn't the problem? What if she's the only one willing to say what everyone else is hiding? And then came the meltdown. A late-night live stream that wasn't planned. Wasn't polished. Wasn't controlled. Tamar appeared emotional, raw, visibly shaken, but determined. She didn't name names directly this time. But she didn't have to. Her tone said everything. She talked about being tired of protecting people who don't protect you. She talked about smiling on camera while crying off camera. She talked about family secrets that cost too much to keep. And then she said something that made the entire internet freeze. She said, "Y'all don't even know the half of it." That one line. It changed everything. Because now the question isn't whether there's more. It's how much more. And how damaging it could be. Behind the scenes, insiders claim emergency conversations are happening. Legal teams are being consulted. Strategies are being discussed. Because if Tamar releases anything concrete, actual proof, real documentation, undeniable evidence, the entire situation could shift from public drama to something far more serious. And Towanda. Still silent. Still watching. Still not directly addressing the storm that's now completely out of control. Meanwhile, Michael Braxton Jr. has reportedly gone completely off-grid. No posts. No statements. No reactions. Just disappearance. And that silence. It's starting to feel less like coincidence, and more like strategy. Because the longer this goes on, the clearer one thing becomes. This isn't just a family disagreement. This is a ticking time bomb. And everyone involved knows it. But just when it seemed like things couldn't escalate any further, a new rumor surfaced. One that could completely flip the story again. According to multiple sources now whispering the same thing. There may be someone else ready to speak. Someone directly connected to Ashlee. Someone who has stayed quiet until now. And if that person comes forward, it won't just confirm what Tamar is saying. It could expose everything. The moment that rumor surfaced, the energy shifted from explosive to dangerous. Because now this wasn't just Tamar speaking. This wasn't just speculation, theories, or leaked clips bouncing around the internet. Now there was talk of a second voice. Someone connected directly to Ashlee. Someone who, according to multiple whispers spreading at once, had been silent not because they had nothing to say, but because they weren't ready. Until now. And suddenly, everything felt like it was building toward something bigger. Something final. Because insiders began hinting that this person, who has not been publicly confirmed, allegedly possesses information that doesn't just support Tamar's claims, but expands them in ways no one is prepared for. Private conversations. Personal history. Context that could completely reframe what people think they know about Towanda Braxton and Michael Braxton Jr. And the most chilling part. The timing. Because according to sources, this individual didn't speak up before because they were trying to protect the family. But now, that protection may be gone. And Tamar, she seems to know it. Because just hours after those rumors began circulating, she posted again. Not a rant. Not a breakdown. Something colder. More controlled. A single line that sent shockwaves through every corner of social media. Truth don't need permission anymore. That was it. No explanation. No follow-up. But it hit like a warning shot. And instantly, fans knew. Something is coming. Behind the scenes, panic is reportedly setting in. Emergency meetings. Last-minute calls. People trying to get ahead of whatever might drop next. Because if a second voice enters this story, especially someone tied directly to Ashlee, it won't just validate Tamar. It could dismantle everything. And that's exactly what people are afraid of. Meanwhile, public opinion is shifting again. At first, Tamar was seen as emotional. Dramatic. Maybe even reckless. But now, she's starting to look prepared. Like someone who didn't just explode randomly. But someone who knew exactly what would happen once she started talking. And that realization, it's making people uncomfortable. Because if Tamar planned this, then what else does she have? What else hasn't she said? What else is waiting? Social media has turned into a battlefield. Some are standing firmly behind Tamar Braxton, calling her brave, saying she's finally breaking cycles of silence that have existed for years. Others are doubling down in defense of Towanda, accusing Tamar of crossing lines that should never be crossed, no matter the truth. And then there are those caught in the middle, watching, waiting, trying to figure out what's real and what's spiraling out of control. But here's where things take an even darker turn. Because according to multiple insiders now speaking anonymously, the family isn't just worried about reputation anymore. They are worried about exposure. Real exposure. The kind that doesn't stay on blogs or social media. The kind that reaches places they can't control. And that's when you know this isn't just drama anymore. This is something else. Because when people start worrying about what might come out instead of what already has, that means the story is far from over. And then came the moment that changed everything again. A supposed behind-the-scenes confrontation. Unconfirmed. Unrecorded. But described by those claiming to know about it as intense, emotional, and irreversible. According to these whispers, Tamar and Towanda had a direct exchange. Not through social media. Not through interviews. Face to face. And it didn't end quietly. Voices raised. Accusations thrown. Years of tension spilling out all at once. And at some point during that confrontation, a line was crossed that can't be uncrossed. No one knows exactly what was said. But everyone agrees on one thing. After that moment, there was no going back. Because now, the silence between them isn't just distance. It's final. And the most unsettling part. Neither side is backing down. Tamar is still posting. Still hinting. Still pushing the narrative forward. Towanda is still quiet. Still calculated. Still refusing to engage directly. And Michael Braxton Jr. still nowhere to be found. Which only adds more tension to an already volatile situation. Because when someone disappears in the middle of chaos like this, people notice. People question. People assume. And right now, assumptions are running wild. But just when it feels like everything has already unraveled, there's one final detail that has insiders on edge. Something that hasn't been confirmed publicly, but is being whispered about in circles close to the situation. The possibility that Tamar hasn't released everything yet. That what we've seen so far is only part of it. That there are still pieces missing. Still details hidden. Still truths waiting for the right moment to drop. And if that's true, then this entire situation isn't reaching its peak. It's building toward it. Because when someone says, you don't know the half of it, and then stays standing in the middle of the storm instead of stepping away, that means they are ready for what comes next. And what comes next might change everything. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just another celebrity story you can scroll past and forget. This is still unfolding. Right now. And the scariest part, we are nowhere near the end. Because every hour, something new is surfacing. A new clip. A new theory. A new piece of the puzzle that makes everything we just talked about feel even deeper, even messier, and even more real. And if Tamar really is holding back more like insiders are claiming, then what drops next could completely flip this entire situation upside down. So don't just sit back and watch this story happen without you. Be part of it. Hit that like button right now if you felt the intensity of this, because trust me, engagement is what keeps stories like this alive and uncovered. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those moments where every opinion matters. Do you believe Tamar Braxton is finally telling the truth? Or do you think Towanda Braxton is staying silent for a reason we don't fully understand yet? And most importantly, subscribe right now. Because if something drops tomorrow, and it might, you do not want to be the last one finding out. These kinds of stories move fast, and once the next piece hits, everyone's going to be talking about it. Stay locked in. Stay watching. And don't blink. Because the truth, it's still coming.